All right, starting live video. Let's try that. Starting live video. So, Crow, if you see this, go ahead and comment, and I'll add you. Try the light on. That's worse. My face is terrible. That's better. Okay. Can you see me live now, Crow? Question mark. All right, let me get a thing to plug in the iPad. Okay. Oops. Goes on this side. Okay, it's plugged in. And let me just look up this. I'm going to look up an article that tells me how to, actually I can do it here. I'm going to look up an article that tells me how to add a guest and see, is this a guest? Guest requests, your viewers, okay, I don't have any viewers yet. What's this? Invite friends to watch, I did that. Okay, let's flip the camera. Okay, so Crow says you can see me live. Okay, go ahead and leave a comment and I'll see if I can invite you. Okay, here it is. How to use split screen on Facebook Live. So what do you do here? Status bar. Status, select live video. Let Facebook access your camera. Add a description. Did that. If you're going live from Facebook, you can choose who can see it. Tag the person you want to invite as a guest later. Okay, I see 2 viewers. Let's see, I can go to my viewer list maybe. Okay, here we go. Request. Alrighty, one moment. Okay. Approve. Okay, I approved you. It says it's adding, so stand by. Still adding, stand by. Okay, there we go. I got the split screen. I can see half of your face and half of my face.
I can hear you.
There we go.
Can
you hear me?
That's a problem. Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, just give me a second here to see what's going on with my headset.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, connected. What should manage?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm connected, but
okay.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I want this going through my. I need this to go through my headset.
Good. We need it to go through the headset.
I'm
okay.
on the phone.
Are you on your computer or your phone? Okay.
Oh.
Huh. It doesn't want to go through the headset on the phone. Okay, stand by, folks. Those amazing technical difficulties, they never cease to amuse us. What'll they think of next?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me through the headset?
Just a second. Talk again. Now I can't hear anything.
My headset, let's see.
Try it again.
Now you can't hear anything.
Test,
oh dear.
test.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Testing,
okay, we're
test,
good.
test. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Test. Okay, so you can hear me. I can hear you.
Now we can just.
And then, okay, great.
Okay, there we go. Now it looked like
so
we're getting ready to do a 3, 2, 1 and launch into the atmosphere.
Okay. Yeah, so you're breaking up a little bit. How's my video feed? Is it smooth or am I choppy?
Okay, it's it looks good.
And maybe you want to not have that lamp lean on the iPad there like that, Mom. I'm trying to set up a lamp so that it illuminates
what
my
I got
face a
on
little
my
bit
computer
better.
screen and what I got on my phone is probably about maybe 1 or 2 minutes behind each other. So.
Okay. Looks like we've got Samson. Hi, Samson. Welcome. And yeah, the mobile version shows the people who are watching. He says he can hear us both. That's excellent. That means presumably anybody who's watching can hear us. That's wonderful. The desktop version would tell how many viewers, but it didn't say who they were as they came on. So we'll see what's going on. All right. So I guess maybe we should go ahead and try this. And you're frozen. Am I frozen? Oh, you're not frozen.
Really
maybe you're just staying
still.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay, so I am actually not going to watch the computer version because that's just weird. And I can bring up notes in front of me.
Okay.
Hey, Sabrina.
Hi, Sabrina. Welcome.
Okay. So, how do you feel? You feel like all the we've conquered the technical issues?
Yeah, let's try it. I think so. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, so you have a plan for today, or what did you want to?
Man,
what were you thinking?
There's so much to go over, and it's really hard to.
I guess I can give the.
Hard to figure out where to start.
What? Okay, I'm going to give the identifier first, or we'll introduce ourselves, and I'll give the identifier.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there.
And I'm Krow.
Hey, folks, I'm Peter. And you're watching P&K Q&A virtual live stream.
And we're going to see how we can make out with this. Okay, so.
Pick the middle. Samson says pick the middle. Are you getting those comments as well? The thing that says Sabrina is watching. Samson says I can hear you both. At the very bottom, Samson just said pick the middle.
All I can see is I can just see that they're watching. I don't know, maybe on the.
Okay, I will. Okay, if I get a comment or something, I will then relay. I'll just call it out for everybody.
Yeah, no, all I see is just everybody that's on. That's all I see. Okay, so I guess normally I have my phone for all of this, but everything's on my phone, but the phone is being utilized for other purposes. So if Peter wants to start us off with a prayer for the world in general and especially for the brave people in the United States that are standing up for their constitutional rights and are being actively destroyed by the demons, for lack of a better description.
All right. All right. I'll start. We'll start the prayer from. It says John's watching. Hi, John. Welcome. All right. Here we go. Father, I pray for the village councils and the mayors of the villages in my rural municipality. May they make decisions that benefit the people of my rural municipality. I pray for the councilors and the reeve of my rural municipality. May they make decisions that benefit the people of the rural municipality. I pray for the city councilors and the mayor of the city of Regina, Saskatchewan. May they make decisions that benefit the people of the city of Regina. I pray for the MLAs and the Premier of Saskatchewan. May they make decisions that benefit the people of Saskatchewan. I pray for the MPs in Ottawa and the Prime Minister of Canada. May they make decisions that benefit the people of Canada. And I pray for the Congress, the Supreme Court, and the President of the United States. May they make decisions that benefit the people of the United States. And I pray for all of the people of the United States. May they find the strength to stand up for what they know is right. And finally, I pray for the leaders of all the countries of the world. May they make decisions that benefit the people of their countries and of the
Amen.
world.
Now,
Amen.
You can ask yourself, why would I bother asking Peter to pray for the people in the United States and specifically? And I'll go again, another example of free will. He chose to start with with our local area and then moved out to the greater area of the world, including the United States. And thing is that you got to understand that what's going on in the States is going to have profound effects on everything around the world, and especially here in Canada. I mean, if Joe gets in, we're screwed. We're just basically, it's a communist agenda. And so basically, I think we're probably going to get a little bold in this episode and just say it how it is. And how it is a, hey, Sandy.
Hi, Sandy. Welcome. These are all people you know, Krow. I don't know any of the, I mean, I know a couple of them, but most of them
Yeah,
I
they
don't
just
know.
come to watch the insanity. And they've heard me speak many times in person on these things. So they're quite, a lot of them are familiar with my views on things. And the thing is that if the United States falls, the world falls. Simple as that. The people, the greedy people at the top, they just want all the wealth and nothing for the rest of us, with no concept of what it takes to actually run a planet. And that's just, I mean, it's sad. And when I was going through the Urantia book, I read a few things here that I thought that kind of sums up what these people are trying to do. And let's see. Material feelings, human emotions lead directly to material actions and selfish acts. So if you're going after material things and everything, and your emotion is based in material satisfaction, then this is all selfishness. And yeah, you go out, you buy your stuff, yeah, that pushes the economy forward, but it doesn't do anything for the community. Religious insights and spiritual motivations tend to lead directly to religious actions, unselfish acts of social service, and altruistic benevolence. So that's the difference between the two philosophies that are battling it out on this planet right now. And I mean, I believe in capitalism. I love capitalism. I mean, I love the idea that, uh, your skill, your knowledge, your talents, your abilities, when exercised properly, can create wealth, or in the very least create a comfortable lifestyle. Whereas in any other system, government comes in and says, no, you can't have that, because your neighbor doesn't have that. And to me, that's bullshit. Because I mean, if I'm the one getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and heading out to work and getting the job done, then I want to keep 100% of my efforts. And, you know.
Don't mind me. I'm just looking for my headset. I was going to see if I could plug it in. I don't think I brought it down
Yeah.
with me.
So
Anyway, so go ahead, Krow. I might just run
So
and get it while he's talking.
100%, I mean, I can understand paying something to my government and, to pave the roads, take care of, hospitals, infrastructure, bridges, and stuff like that. But I don't believe that we should be paying taxes to our government to tell us how we should live in our own homes, tell us where to live, and tell us where we have to work, and to tell me that 60% of what I earn has to go to the neighbor up the road that doesn't get out of bed until well into the afternoon. And so, no, I don't believe in that, and that's what we're fighting against. This is what these people want. It's actually not even anything new. This is an ancient battle going back thousands of years. The religion of Baal, mentioned in the Hebrew Bible many times, their philosophy was that it's the Hebrews believed that they should own the land, so where their flocks graze. That's why you always hear them say, my family's been here for generations, so I ain't going nowheres. Whereas the Baal priest would come in and say, no, you have to give everything you own to the king, and we will let you your animals graze on this patch of land. And that can change anytime at anybody's whim. And that's no way for humans to live under that kind of stress. I mean, it's going to create suicides. It already has. So. Anything to add to that, Peter?
I did, but the taxes thing. I guess I kind of an aside. I guess that and I'm actually going to bring up something that Q mentioned about one of the reasons for the taxes being so high and increasing all the time is they feed the, I'm going to call it the Illuminati, NAUGHTY, the global, whatever the shadow government that has run the planet. It's basically their slush fund. They send it to other countries, take it from various countries, and it goes to whatever purposes they're doing. It doesn't serve the people, that's for sure. So if we could, if we can secure our sovereignty or whatever, and make sure that the government is, the taxes would either go down or we would see massive benefits for, you know, what we're paying in taxes right now. If we could keep it within the country that's paying the taxes to its government, our services would go way up, and create some kind of accountability thing, of course. But I just wanted to mention that little leak in the system that has been mentioned.
Oh, what little leak?
Oh, the was it? Oh, what percent was it? I don't know, 0.7 or 7% or something went to the taxes were being taken out of the country and centralized in the Illuminati's coffers. Basically, is the allegation that I was
allegations and
referring
rumors. Yeah.
So that
Oh,
leak.
my favorite rumor this week was Joe is actually under house arrest and he is turning evidence on everybody. And I just thought to myself, you know what? That would actually fit in quite nicely with his personality. You freaking imagine. Oh, man. But I mean, that's what's going on. And the cognitive dissonance, that's where I was heading with our conversation. The cognitive dissonance is off the charts. It is amazingly off the charts. I've been having conversations on social media since that videotape in Georgia surfaced, the security footage of everybody counting ballots after they left, which is totally illegal. And I don't even know where they find an argument to justify it. I mean, I watched the arguments to justify it, and I'm just like, that's quite the stretch, you know, of the imagination is what it is. And it just blows my mind. But that's the cognitive dissonance we're dealing with. It's basically, it's evil. It's evil, dripping with sin, and you know, shrouded in inequity. It's blowing my mind that you could have a video come out with a timestamp, and this video corresponds exactly with the sworn affidavits that like 300 people wrote and swore to under the penalty of perjury. I mean, my favorite was this lady that you know, she was one of the demons tried to trip her up, and she was just like, you know what? She says, I signed a piece of paper that says that if I'm wrong, I go to jail. What did you sign? And that was right to one of the state legislators.
Yeah, I remember a picture, and you've probably seen this. The picture, it's a cartoon. Let's see, who all is it? It's Hillary, Obama, Joe, a couple of other people. They all have their hand in a cookie jar in the White House pantry, and Donald walks in, turns on the light, and he's there tapping his foot, and they all point at him.
I know, I
shout,
seen
"We
that
caught
cartoon,
you."
and I was like, yep, that is about right.
That mirrors the situation perfectly. Or that's a perfect commentary on what these folks
but
are
it's the average
trying to do.
folks, and I keep thinking to myself, it's like, what is causing this cognitive dissonance? I mean, I don't know about you, Peter, which I'm certain that you're probably of the same mind as I am, and that is every time I'm looking at evidence. And, you know, even if it's like, you know, in favor of Trump or against Trump, it doesn't matter. And I'm looking at this evidence, and I keep asking myself, okay, am I being like real with myself? Am I being truthful with myself, you know, or am I being biased because, you know, of, you know, Trump and the Patriots and everything? And I was like, you know, am I being biased? And I don't want to be biased. I want to see the truth, no matter how ugly it is, and even if that truth proves me wrong. And so I don't think I'm being biased when I am looking at all of this evidence, and, you know, and with my limited understanding of the law, but you don't need much understanding of the law to know that the Constitution is the highest law in the land. I don't need to know every little statute after that. I just need to know this is the Constitution. If anything interferes with this document, then it should be thrown out.
What it comes down to me is, I look at a situation, I think, what's right? Is this right? What's going on? Is it an accurate description to the best of my ability? Something that, you know, A is and B isn't and C kind of is, something like that. I don't know. Do I have a perfect understanding of reality? No. But to come back to the evidence of the cognitive dissonance, I've maybe seen it more than some people. I'm a furry, and I hang out on furry forums and message boards, and the conversations that I see these people having, they're on the one hand, they say, you know, it's, I'm sure you've seen these kinds of arguments. On the one hand, they're saying this is all, you know, whatever, terrible, but you know, put a mask on when if you even see somebody, if you're within visual range of somebody else, wear a mask or something like that. You talk about cognitive dissonance. Read a conversation between some furries.
It's, I don't know. It's, to me, it's like people are just giving up their fundamental liberties, just, you know, to feel what? To feel safe. I mean, a friend of mine put it this way one time, and I had to laugh. She says, you know, we're going down the highway at 110 kilometers an hour in 10 cans, and we're like passing each other, you know, with less than 24 inches between us. And yet,
at a relative speed
exactly, yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't understand, you know, when it comes to physics. If you're coming 100 kilometers towards a moving object that is moving towards you at 100 kilometers an hour, you don't go into each other at 100 kilometers an hour. You go into each other at 200 kilometers an hour. This is why front end, you know, front end collisions like that. Yeah, they're so much more devastating as opposed to somebody just running into the back of you while you're at a stoplight, or even into the side of you. It's, you know, it's twice as bad, essentially. But yeah, she used to make a comment that we could do that, but we freak out if we show a little bit of skin at the beach. And it's just like, yeah, I know. I was like, humans are weird.
What was I going to say? Oh, and this might help a little bit. I can't condemn these people so much, even the ones who I look at and I see, you know, you're completely screwed up in your thinking, because what I went through in high school, I was bullied in high school until like the last 2 years, year and a half or something, and I was able to observe the process. Sort of, I would for some time, you know, I didn't have the way of conducting myself that was so that people would leave me alone, or I didn't have the comebacks and things like that. But after a while, within say the last year of school, within a relatively short period of time, that happened for me, and then I was able to be, you know, I guess there's an example. One of the, this was, I don't know, grade 10 or 11 or something, when this kind of events process started to really occur. There was this one kid who was kind of, he'd push other folks around and stuff, and he and I were kind of, I don't know what we were in deal with. We were, I don't know, in the hallway. He wasn't even touching me or anything. We were trading barbs back and forth, I guess. And the teacher came up and said, "Is there a problem?" And I thought for a second, And I had a few seconds, even if he'd said that a few seconds before, I would have said, yeah, he's giving me a hard time. But I thought, and I said, okay, I can either say he's giving me a hard time or I can say something else. What I said was, no, there's no problem. We're just fooling around. And I turned to the guy who was, and I said, right? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So at that moment, I figured out how to handle the situation without just running to a higher authority to, you know. So a lot of people, these people don't have that yet in certain things. So I cannot blame them, even though I think some of their, they're flat wrong and so on. But I know I know why, to some extent anyway. They're in that place where, at least even on one or two subjects, that's where their head is at about it. They're not at the level yet where they can, what is it called, discernment,
yeah.
that everybody's talking about now. They're not in the place where they can use discernment about everything yet,
And that brings up a good point. It's the public school system seems to be doing a good job of of institutionalizing the population. I mean, when you really think about it, like having to run to a higher authority for every little decision, or even to just be like, oh, I can't do that because I might get in trouble. I mean, that's institutionalized behavior. That's the kind of behavior that you would see in a prison. Because constantly in the back of your head, the bull is watching, and the bull controls when you get to go out for a walk, if you can go into the cafeteria for a meal, when you're going to get a shower. So yeah, I mean, people having to constantly, go to a higher authority without using their own discernment. I mean, that kind of thinking is completely useless out in the universe. Completely universe. Michael doesn't need that.
Yeah.
Michael doesn't want that. What Michael wants intelligent people that can use discernment and make decisions with one thing in mind, almost like a constitution. Is this the will of the Father? That's it. That's what that.
And a couple of things I wanted to add to that, I guess. And there's a couple of missing pieces. I think a lot of people aren't seeing. One is when so many people, and I say this I touch on it in my program, Think Positive for Life. I say, I can't condemn somebody whose history I don't know. I don't know where they are about something, why they did such and such a thing that they did. And that thing that I just told you is, that explains a lot of this. It doesn't justify it, but it explains why it is. So my question for you is, what's the balance in assuming this is going to, somehow these people are going to be able to correct, in the end they'll have to either make the decision to correct their behavior, or because there's some stuff we can do, but what we can do really is limited. What we can benevolently do is limited. There's things we can do that would separate, winnow out the two main classes of the population, those who are aware and those who are not really. And actually there's maybe a third class, the
a third.
But yeah, so I in the end, what's the motto? They joke about in veterinary college, you can't save them all and you can't kill them all.
Yeah.
The animals you end up dealing with. Sometimes you'll do everything right and the animal dies anyway. And sometimes you can completely botch a job and
can't save them all, can't kill them all. Yeah. And that's pretty much, what, we might actually be there. It's we got to keep in mind is that we are a crop. We are livestock. We are spiritual livestock. Yeah. And the creator of this universe only wants the best for his universe. And he's got so much mercy that a thief hanging on a cross and sincerely wants to do better gets a golden ticket. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. At the very moment, the very last moments of his life, literally, he made the decision, said, what I did up to this moment wasn't worth anything. And, he met Jesus, Michael, and it opened a door for him, and he chose to go through that door. So, when we'll probably be introduced to him on the other side, and we'll get to see what became of him, I suppose, or
we will definitely
have a story about him, or
have a story about him. And you might like this. I actually asked what happened to him, and I was told that he is one of the most loyal and capable administrators in the Saturnalia system. Yeah, he is doing great things, all for Michael. Like the things that he has done, like he's upended tables in front of demons and just been like, how can you be so stupid? Except, the Saturnalia language is not nearly as emotional as ours. But they have.
So that the other part of my question, I guess,
just saying the Saturnalia language is not nearly as emotional as ours, but it still has deep emotional context in the words that they use.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, that kind of brings me to another thing that I was thinking about, and it's to what degree, you've maybe heard the term keyboard warriors and things like that, who call out. In fact, I have to make a decision this evening whether how I'm going to respond to a person. Let's see, another furry. He said one of these furry conventions was canceled due to COVID, but he is, I think, extremely upset that somebody is renting like 3 hotel rooms in this hotel and having a mini get together or something, and they're saying they're going to take all the whatever precautions they're supposed to be taking and all that, and he's jealous, I guess. So what I'm trying to figure out is, do I just legit call him out on this? I say, what's your point? Are you jealous? Are you, there's probably thousands of people who are hanging out in your city any given weekend. Are you going to be upset because he's concerned about these people spreading more COVID or something? Like, okay, people move around even a little bit all the time. Are you, and I, based on what I told you before, knowing that up to a certain point, I was not fully in control of how I responded to certain things, re bullies. I have reason to temper my reaction to him a little bit. So, and I know it's my choice. I could just, there's a number of things I could do, a whole range of responses, from very, very excoriating to just typing, offers hugs or something. So it's going to be somewhere in the middle. It won't be either of those, but it won't be offering him hugs. Probably I won't be calling him a traitor, but it'll be, I may ask him, what are you actually, what's actually going on in your head here? Are you jealous?
Yeah.
What's the problem? so that's, I don't know. I don't know if you understood what I was getting at or what I'm asking, or if it even matters. We just kind of do what we do. There's stuff happening on other levels, and we just interact with the people we end up interacting with, and that's maybe not by accident
Yeah,
sometimes. And we choose how we want to interact with them at that
I
time.
take Maynard's position when it comes to interacting with other humans. And maybe it's a self-centered position, but hell, it serves me. I I always think that I just automatically assume that people are put in front of me for me to learn something from. Uh, about myself and
Yes.
about my
Okay.
character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that, and by
Yes.
exercising that little bit of, I don't know what you would call it, just a rule, philosophy, whatever, I'm able to make quantum leaps in the development of my character because, you know,
Yes, you get to watch yourself developing. It doesn't even matter if you, well, yeah, I'm reading this guy's journal, and there's another guy on Facebook who's asking, let's see, about, I don't know, the person who was arrested in Kenosha and charged $2 million bail. My position is he probably acted in self-defense. The SJWs call him a terrorist or whatever, white supremacist. There's a range of responses I could give to that. And I think, correct me if I'm mistaken, but even just seeing that and going through my gut reactions to it and going through the range of responses and going through the range of responses, I'm thinking to this furry's journal about he's jealous about these people meeting in this hotel. The part of the job is already done just from having done that without responding at all, because it taught me something about myself, and it made me
and
grow a little bit, I guess. I mean, I have the option to respond. Do I have an obligation to respond to these things, I guess, is my
yeah,
question,
I
and to
never
what
feel
degree?
obligated to respond to anybody. I mean, I just, yeah, I
Okay,
just,
that's what I thought.
I just
Yeah.
I look at their response or their answer, and I just discern whether or not this person is worth carrying the conversation forward. Usually I know
Yes.
within 3 responses whether or not I'm dealing with a
Mm-hmm.
rational human being,
Yep.
and then that for me that's just
Yep.
I'm done because I don't have neither the time nor the
Mm-hmm.
patience to deal with, I guess, essentially trolls. Uh,
Yeah. No. So I guess something I just thought of or realized is that we we can't do the work on the I guess I call it manually, like just talking to all these people. And I've actually gotten pretty good about, oh, Jason, hi Jason, welcome. I can't really. I've actually come up with some pretty good ways to deal with trolls. Some of them get pretty in my face, and I just say thank you for helping me with my Zen stuff like that. Yeah. Um, but that's not where the work happens. Like I was thinking just the other day, this is actually happening on a using understanding the power of positive thinking, the law of attraction, that sort of thing. So I'm throwing out those vibes, and that I think does more. I see this journal or the whatever it is, a Facebook post, and I go through my gut reactions to it. I go through a list of how could I respond to this? Is it worth responding to? What do I know? Do I know the person who posted it, and what are they likely to, based on my interactions with them in the past? On this subject, other subjects, some people I can talk with on Facebook that I know kind of about certain subjects, and other subjects it's a completely different conversation. Um, so yeah, it's happening on another plane. I'm doing the work there, like with having the conversation, yes, it could be done. Maybe it would accomplish something, but it's not going to accomplish nearly as much as what's maybe going to be accomplished by me focusing on a positive outcome for the person in the conversation, uh, throwing out vibes for, you know, law of attraction to improve the situation. That sort of thing is kind of what I submit to you is my theory
Well,
about what's
it
going
comes
on.
back to a conversation we had. I'm not sure if we had it on air or it was part of our rumble. When you have conversations with people, I try not to have conversations with the person. I try to have conversations with their thought adjuster. And my goal is, okay, I understand that I am not going to convince anyone of anything. So I don't bother trying to. I talk to their thought adjuster directly, and I give the thought adjuster ammunition to use for that person, because the thought adjuster knows that person. They know that person's character. So I'm never going to find the proper words to convince. I mean, I can do it emotionally. I mean, I can manipulate people's emotions, but why would I want to do that? It doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve them. Well, it can serve me in a selfish way, but why do I want to do that? And but you talk to the thought adjuster and you give the thought adjuster ammunition, then the thought adjuster can use that to minister to the person, because the thought adjuster can only use whatever information that person has, that knowledge that that person has. The thought adjuster can't give knowledge to their human. That would violate free will. All they can do is use the knowledge that you have and make suggestions and minister within that matrix of knowledge. Guardian angels, on the other hand, they're a little bit different. They can actually show you things and they can make suggestions, like choosing to go, coming to a fork in the road, choosing left or right. A guardian angel might tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, maybe you might want to take the left path right now. And the guardian angel might make that path a little bit brighter, a little bit more appealing to the person. And they might look down the other path and it's dark and it's foreboding. And it's like, okay, I'm going down the path that looks good. So that's how the guardian angels help us. And yeah, and that's just paying attention. You have to pay attention to what's to your environment. You got to remember, it's like, okay, that grass, you remember what things were. It's just walking with mental awareness, situational awareness. And once you start.
So that said, then the question, I guess, then becomes, if I'm dealing in these two situations that I talked about, if I'm speaking to the thought adjuster, and I remember that on and off. I hadn't. You reminded me of that, and thank you. But the question, I guess, then becomes, how do I decide in which situation I want to do that in a given? And you said kind of you give up to three interactions, and you see what they respond, and then you can kind of quit or go away or whatever, depending on how you feel. So, and again, I don't think it's obligatory, because at the very basic, these things are helping us grow too. Seeing the Facebook post, paying attention to our reactions to it, thinking of what we might respond, how we might respond.
Well, I mean,
so and things like that.
A right-thinking person is, and I'm not talking politically, I'm just talking about altruistically, is going to look at other people's opinions and not so much agree, but more or less just look at the character that is reflected in that opinion. And yeah, and then and then you can just decide, whether or not what kind of interaction you want with this person. So I don't know. I personally, I love hearing other people's opinions, because it helps me to fine tune my own opinion. And because I mean, people might it's might look at something a little bit different than me, or they might even remind me of something that I did read and forgotten about, like a conversation that me and a friend were having about China, and I took the position, the devil's advocate position, of defending China, just because I wanted to see where this conversation was going to go. And so I was like, well, I mean, they're doing things in their economy, they're building and doing this, doing that. And then my friend, he pointed out the economic shortcomings of the Chinese economic plan, and I agree with them. And but then he said something else, and I had to laugh, and I was like, you know what? You're right. They are monsters. And what it was is that he pointed out that the government of China thought it a better idea to put nets outside of windows to catch suicide attempts than to improve the working conditions within the factory. How messed up is that?
I've heard that. Yeah.
I mean, well, let's not fix the problem. People dying and living in squalor. Let's just make sure that they get to work the next day. It's like, wow. I mean, that is some wrong thinking.
Yeah, but what's interesting, that made me think of something. And it's getting fixed and has begun to get fixed since, well, certainly since the internet. But every country in the world has some good points and some bad points, and now we're starting to be able to look at each other's. I mean, we have been looking at each other's for a long time, and we're adopting good stuff from other places, and maybe unfortunately one or two bad things from other places. But we're getting to see all the different stuff and put it all together. I thought it would be interesting from an engineering standpoint. For example, just to give an example, if before a new company went on the market for a car or a tractor or something, they went and looked at everything that was on the market and decided what all was good and what they wanted to put in their offering
Honest
before
capitalism.
beginning production on it. We're getting to do that with our global society. Now we're able to see what everybody's about pretty much, and choose. Even in our own philosophy, what parts of someone else's philosophy to add to ours at the very basic level.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, is to constantly be evolving your philosophy, because there is no end to it. I mean, even after you do the journey and land on the shores of paradise and abode with the Father, it doesn't end there, because at some point in your conversation with the Father, you're going to get a new idea, and you're going to turn to the Father and it's be like, hey, do you mind if I go do this? And the Father's going to be like, you know what, son? Have at her. And fucking boom, you leave paradise, you're back out into the universes of time and space, and again, you just created a whole new adventure. This is why it never ends. I mean, the universe is eternity plus one. Always. Because it's, even if you exhausted every idea in time and space, you're going to look at all the ideas that you just exhausted and be like, wait a second, what happens if I put these two ideas together? What happens if I put three of them together?
And we don't even know. That's and that's the example we can come up with. We don't even know until we get there. It'll be like we didn't know nothing before we got here, even thinking of knowing, one step ahead or what's likely to happen in the next level. So it's, yeah, there's no and that's the thing that blows my mind when I bother to think about it, is that there's always, something else that's possible
Yeah,
to do for
and
growing and so on.
that's also why when visions come, they're not they're pretty good for detail, but there's so much more that I'm not seeing because I don't have the reference point. It's too far removed from my current paradigm. But once my paradigm shifts, and it will shift because of new knowledge or new insight in wisdom, then I can look back on that vision and be like, oh, that's what was going on. And and that only can happen as long as I am growing. And I can only grow if I put the effort into it. So,
Yeah.
and there we are.
Yeah. What else? Let's see. I'll just look back through and see if there was any. Probably got a bunch of things too, but let me just go back and see if there's anything that's relevant, I guess, for all the things that we've kind of talked about so far. I've got kind of a list. Yeah, thought adjusters. We've talked about all the things. So yeah, I think we've been covering obviously most of the stuff that's been relevant. First is going to be, our personal growth. We're set to grow, like in situations like
Growing.
this, like
Speaking
never
of
before.
growing.
Oh, I remember.
That is exactly what is going on with this whole U.S. election. We're being forced to grow up, essentially. We're getting educated. The thing is that we have spent the last 100 years. Okay. I'm going to displace myself as a, or well, maybe I won't do that. Okay, take America for instance. The people of America have taken their Constitution for granted for a very, very long time. It was just assumed that law enforcement was following the Constitution and everything was operating. I mean, yeah, there's corruption. Everybody knew it. I mean, that's how you end up with, people not trusting the government and stuff like that. But that was all tucked away off to the side. It only constituted a small percentage of the population anyways. But for the most part, Americans had a lot of faith in their Constitution. And they didn't think that they really had to do anything for it. I mean, Americans have never had to defend their Constitution. Maybe in the beginning, but not for the last 100 years or so. It's just been taken for granted that it's there. They've had to defend their land. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, they had to protect their military assets, their land, but they weren't protecting the Constitution. Now we are in this war, and it is a war. I have no doubt about it. This war, yes.
It's an
And
ideological
this war is
war,
about
isn't it? Yeah.
fighting for the Constitution and everything that it stands for.
Okay.
And this is probably the most important war America has ever fought in her history, ever. And people don't, and people need to understand that. And once this war is over, and this is the part that is this is the best part. Once this war is over, the Constitution is going to be galvanized into the morphogenic fields of this planet worldwide. It's going to be galvanized.
Oh.
And it's like whoever made this plan, well, Peter and I have our suspicions, and his name is Michael, or her name. What she's doing is she is programming the morphogenic fields, is what she's doing. And the only way to program morphogenic fields is through mass education, mass awareness. But it's
Yes.
it has to yes,
It's the
and
mind
the
of the
mind
planet,
of the planet.
basically. It reflects what the predominant, or the, I'm not sure how I want to say that, but it is a aggregate reflection of the psyche of the higher planetary inhabitants, in this case the human race.
That is a good description. But here's the thing, is that there's a certain way that you have to program the morphogenic fields. Michael already did this once 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
And so he's had 2,000 years to look at how he could do it better. And so when you look back at what has happened, you never know what the hell's going on when you're living in it. But once you have to take a chance, and you have and you take a breather and you look back and you're like, oh, that is what was going on. So
Yes,
let's take
that's what
Q.
that was about. Yeah.
Okay. And Q came on the scene, what, 4 years ago, 3 years ago?
End of October 2017.
3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years basically.
And the very first post was about Hillary being arrested. That got everybody's attention. But what you all need to notice when you go through the Q posts is that I look at everything that was put in the beginning posts before Q added their signature. I think there's over 100 posts where they do not end with Q. Yeah, I think it might be up to 144.
I'll figure that.
And
yeah, okay.
They so up to that point, there was no signature at the bottom of the post. And when you look at these posts, they're like, it's like somebody is looking at different potentials in time. And it's scattered all over the place in time. But then once you get to the posts that where Q has signed them with Q, and I think this is about the time that Q established the trip code, so that you knew that this was a real Q post, because you could look at the trip code and just be like, yes, it's a real post. And
okay, number 70 is the one that shows up for me. as the first one that ends in Q. Oh, some of them are, some of them aren't. Oh yeah, now they're starting to be.
Okay.
Yeah, after 70, 70 is the first one that I saw that had the Q signature. One of the ones before, like number 40, had a thing that said the White House or the WH. But yeah, the first one where it actually starts to be signed as Q
Okay.
start around 70.
Yeah.
Is what I'm
So then
seeing
you
here
look at
on this
everything that
one
happened
site.
after Q started signing. It all starts to get a little bit more. The focus starts to narrow, and it becomes. It starts to focus in on the goals of this plan, and then you watch as it all unfolds and then what was going on behind the scenes, and then you look at what's going on now. Basically, the Q posts were prepping prepping the human psyche, the morphogenic fields.
Yeah, by about the lead was 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, depending on certain things, but there was definitely what they were talking about was at least a year in advance of what anybody's kind of seeing at all, and certainly maybe 2 years in some cases, but yeah, and I mean that's to be expected, but yeah, so it's focusing in the direction that they're wanting to, they've chosen their direction, they've chosen their focus, and that's what they're writing about.
Yes,
they're focusing on.
They're following a certain timeline. This is why there's markers. This is why they have markers, so that they know where they are at in time. And now,
excuse me. And they're up to, I think they're up to 8 of 12 or 18 or 21 markers or something. They have it in like blank, whatever. There's this stack of them. It's marker, 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 and then there's certain posts in which they filled in about 8 of them, let's say, as with names and places and events and stuff, and the rest of them are not filled in, but they're placeholders. So that's kind of, I guess, where we are in the timeline or in the plan or in the program.
Yeah, Michael is directing the morphogenic field of this planet, but he's doing it with our consent, because we are freely reading the Q posts, and we are the ones that are freely going and doing our research. And by reading the Q post and then going to do the research, you're putting information in the morphogenic field, but you're doing it in such a way that it's going to be more intense information, because now you have a million or millions of people all looking at the same document at relatively the same amount of time.
Yes. And what was interesting about the, for people who may not know, the Q posts, after I've read, I don't know how many it was that before I really started to notice it, but they do program you to think just a little bit differently. And I know when I would respond to, like, people in forums and stuff, I would put certain points, like short sentences one after the other, and like hit return after each one instead of kind of in a string, which it makes them easier to read the points and things like that. So I started to copy Q's style. I'd have these short sentences and then hit enter and then write the next, instead of writing them in a string, because it forces you to focus on one thought, then a slight pause, then another thought, then a slight pause, then and then it so basically by voluntarily reading the Q posts, we are reprogramming our brains slightly, and then we're going out, and when we interact with people, especially online via text and things, we're, at least I am, posing my questions and my points in a slightly different format.
You hit the nail on the head. It's programming us to focus our thoughts. It's helping our brains to organize itself, I think, on a quantum level. And so that it does make it easier for us to access the information, so that we're not stumped when it comes to a conversation. And when I was watching the I guess hearings, I don't know, Q&A at that the legislators had in Georgia, I was watching the people that were coming forward with their sworn affidavits, and a good many of them, they were sharp. They did not get tripped up. I mean, I've watched court cases, not TV fantasy court case. I'm like real court cases, and people don't think that quick. I mean, it's not a it's the average person does not think on their feet at all, and they can get easily tripped up if if you want to do it. But these people, even the lady who she's just a mother. She raised children. That was her life, and took care of everybody around her. And even they couldn't even trip her up. I mean, she almost broke down and cried, but through all of that emotion, she was still on point. And I was just like, wow. Yeah. I was like, she believes. She really, like, she believes.
And quick aside, I have a theory on that, and then I guess before I'd like to probably see if I can watch that. But I did watch the one where what was it? Rudy Giuliani went before the legislature of Pennsylvania, right? That was the first one, right? The whole thing. If you're watching something, it's a lesson in how the Constitution works, because he was explaining, and the assistant attorneys were explaining. Whichever one's job it was to explain whatever, was saying it's not the job of the Secretary of State of Pennsylvania to unilaterally declare such and such. It is this particular thing falls to the legislature of Pennsylvania. It's that panel of people. The governor can't do it. The Secretary of State, the Supreme Court of the state, doesn't even have the right to do, whatever it was to change the date of something to do with the election a week before the election, or whatever it was they were alleging happened. And they explained it is the legislature whose sole power it is, and they can override. They could override the Supreme Court on that matter, actually, on the matter of elections. And I think I know why that it's in the Constitution like that, because it's a panel of people. It's not the governor, the Secretary of State, or even the Supreme Court of a state, which is maybe 5 to 9 people. I don't know what the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania is, but the legislature of Pennsylvania is dozens or hundreds of people.
I'll tell you,
and
going through all of this, like, I mean, I've only read like the first part of the U.S. Constitution, and of course I liked what I read. I had never gone into this deep into the Constitution, and I don't think very many people have. And
no, I've looked through it, I've skimmed through it, but sometime very close to the election, I pulled out my World Book 1969, and I looked at the encyclopedia article on the United States Constitution, and it's done pretty well, but I had difficulty finding a couple of the pieces of information that they said such and such, whatever. And I think some of the, it's I haven't taken that hard a look at the Constitution since I don't remember when.
I'll tell you what I'm beginning to notice with this deep dive into the Constitution, and watching Rudy Giuliani's Common Sense YouTube channel. He lays it all out, and he's not giving his opinion. He's reading directly off the page. This is what it says. And
Yes.
so the more I've been learning.
So whoever's watching that is getting schooled on the Constitution
Exactly.
because they're watching
And
movies.
he's repeating the
They're
same thing in these hearings. And
yeah.
thing that came to me was the founding fathers of the United States of America had a deep, or seems like they had a deep understanding of how the deep state operates. Because they did not put power in the hands of judges, governors, or even the president of the United States. The power is in the people. And like you pointed out, there are hundreds of legislatures just in Philadelphia alone. Now, while the deep state can bribe and blackmail a governor, a judge, a Supreme Court judge, or Secretary of State, it becomes a mighty undertaking to try to blackmail or buy off a couple of hundred legislators.
Yeah, to subvert an entire legislature is
I mean, you might be able to like maybe compromise 20% of them, but that's hardly a majority in a vote if you need it. And that's what they do. I mean, they're looking for votes. And now what Giuliani has done is he has brought the information before these legislatures, and 60% of them at least are just regular people who have never dealt with the deep state. They have no idea what the deep state is, don't care. They've got other things that they're dealing with. And they have not ran into that nefarious body during their career because they might be representing a small county with maybe, a couple of thousand people. Yes. So the deep state ignores them. But the problem is that there's more of those legislators that represent these small counties that they ignore than the ones in the big cities. And it's these small town legislators that are like, wait a second, I don't know how you do things here in the big city, but where I come from, this is bullshit. And they're not having it. And they're going to their friends. They are going around to their friends in the legislature who may be on the fence or maybe just, might be a little scared. And they're just like saying and pointing out, this is bullshit. We need to do something about it, and putting them on the spot. It's like, are you going to?
Yeah. I like the for the Pennsylvania, the hearing with Giuliani. The president of that panel was, I forget his name, but he was this legislator from wherever in Pennsylvania, and he was, I think, a colonel in the Army. Right. So I saw what he was talking about in the beginning, and then his closing statement was basically what a military man would say to his battalion when he's saying, here's our battle plan. Here's what's happening. This won't stand. Here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Do what's
and
right.
I was happy to see a man like that, because I was like, this guy, I mean, a retired military man. I mean, anytime you get one of these guys that has given service to their country and has made it to that kind of a rank, and they did it right. They didn't use family and friends or graft to get there. And then you've got a individual with a strong character. And nobody is going to be able to convince that guy to flush the Constitution, because he's lost friends to people who have defended the Constitution. And, those are the type of people that, I prefer in leadership positions. People that have lost something defending righteousness, because they become the strongest defenders.
Sure. Yeah.
Also helps you to understand why Michael is doing it this way. Because you would think to yourself, and I'm sure a lot of people did, that this was going to be settled the night of the election.
Yeah, even I thought that.
Yeah.
Or a couple of days or something. But apparently not. No, we'll see. We'll see by now. I'm thinking, let's see what happens by January 20th. I mean, that'll be something's going to happen by then, I think. And we'll see what happens then. Now, what would be the whatever. If I guess, yeah. So the scenario in my head, or the thing is, if Donald Trump would pull, I don't know if he's a practical joker at all, but he could be in this case. If he somehow lets the appearance be that Joe actually won the presidency, and he goes through the whole thing and moving out and lets Joe, and then they just let Joe crash and burn after January 20th, and then they say, oh, well, it was actually Trump all. I don't know. I'm not going to say what's going to happen. I don't want to jinx anything or whatever. I'm just watching. We're just along for the ride here. But that scenario occurred to me, and I don't know if Trump would do that as a huge practical joke to them. But I think doesn't strike me as what I've seen from him. But
I doubt.
Thought I had. Here, Joe. It's all yours. Not. Here's all this stuff that. Well, I mean, his own people would.
Yeah,
actually. It's like Hugh said about Jim Acosta. Give him enough rope to hang himself. Why isn't CNN's Jim Acosta had been booted from the White House press room? And the Hugh's answer was, well, we'll just let him dig his own grave with his questions that he's answering. I mean, I can tell that his questions are not in good faith, and someday he'll say something that's just too, and then either in the press room or when he goes on as an anchor, he'll just totally shoot
That's
himself
what
in
evil
the foot.
does to themselves.
If he's even, I don't know if he's
even. That's what they do to themselves. And so.
And as we said, I think they've lost their leadership. We got to the point where I guess Michael, I guess, or the magisterial son or somebody took the let's say the masters of these bad actors, the demons, whatever, they were gone in 2012 or something, and then these people who were working for them, the mortals who were working for them, suddenly have no leadership and have not practiced for a scenario in which they had no leadership, so they are doubly screwed, and so it's
a complete train wreck for them, because here's the funny part. It's like the old demons that were cast aside from the original rebellion, they're trying to reassert their authority, but they can't, because for one thing, they're half insane from denying the Father all this time, that they barely know their own existence. So the orders that they're getting from these demons are contradictory and repetitive and very confusing,
highly damaging.
And this is why you're looking around and you're like, have these people gone insane? And maybe they haven't, but the masters that they are serving now are insane. And this is why is why you see them spinning their fucking wheels in the mud. They can't get out because they can't adjust their mind in time and space when they are not connected with the Father. When you're not connected with the Father, you have no existence in time and space. You're just there. but you don't go forward, you don't go backwards, you just end up repeating the same thing over and over again. It's like a bad Doctor Who episode. And
yeah. So yeah, and then yeah, I just wanted to go somewhere that it's kind of belongs in another episode, but I just wanted to touch on it here, I guess. And to segue into that, yeah. So as I've said to a couple of my friends now, with everything that has happened or that we've experienced, we can now tell people that we lived in the apocalypse.
the revealing,
or even maybe more is coming, but to this point, even we can say that, yeah. And all the apocalypse means is the revealing. It doesn't necessarily mean all this fire and brimstone. It's just the reveal. It's just the revealing. It means the drawing back.
That is exactly what it means. And same thing with Revelation. Everybody's like, Book of Revelation. It's just it's a revelation. Yeah. Revelation means warning. There's revealing, but it also
revealing,
has an older meaning, which means warning. Think about that. Now, if you take that into context, that revelation, by definition, means warning, and then you read the book of Revelation, you're looking at a completely different story. It's like, oh, these are the things that we should be aware of that could happen. Like, getting a mark on your forehead or or on your right hand, and in order to do business. It's not so much that it's predicting that it's going to happen. It's telling you that if you do this, this is going to take you down take society down a road which its only conclusion is death and destruction. It's like what I talked about before. It is so easy for me to see what happens when shit goes off the rails, because it's only going to end one way. When shit goes off the rails, it's going to everything is destroyed. So it's like there's only one outcome. But if you stay on the path of light and life, it becomes broad and broader and broader, and there's like branches leading off everywhere, and you cannot you can't see everything. You can only see parts of it, because the road is, the path to destruction is a foot trail. The road to light and life is as wide as a continent. You can't see it all, but you can explore different parts of it.
And where I was going with what I was saying, when we get to tell people we lived through the apocalypse, 2 points I guess I wanted to make. The first is in one of the atheist things I was on Facebook, somebody posted, let's see, what was it? Okay. A Holocaust survivor or somebody who was in the Holocaust gets to heaven and immediately tells a Holocaust joke, and God says that's not funny, and the Holocaust survivor says, I guess you had to be there, implying that it's the whole thing about, if God exists, it's the atheist line, if God exists, why did the Holocaust happen? And then it's like, so my rebuttal to that is, the people who went through the Holocaust are going to be, in heaven. They're going to get, some serious cred, because most of them, but
they're going to have
people
some
who went through that, they're going to get some serious cred. And then say, military veterans, say Vietnam veterans, those people, the same thing, just, my take is that the war was not necessarily legitimate. Vietnam wasn't a threat to the United States, but that aside, the people who went for, they were made to go and they went through that. That's, I respect those guys tremendously. their commanders and higher ups and the
Yeah.
people who made them go there, not so much. But in the the people who went through
here's the
that,
thing.
I have
And I
tremendous
hear you
respect
on
for them.
that because, anybody that goes through any kind of challenge deserves respect. But the thing you got to keep in mind is that this meat suit that we wear doesn't mean anything in the real. No, and
no, it doesn't.
And so people are like, why did the Holocaust have to happen? Because so much suffering. Okay, yeah, okay, suffering is never good. It's a bad thing. And
we got Jordan. Jordan's on.
and
Jordan says true to what we were
hey,
talking
Jordan.
about. His comment
And
was true. Hi, Jordan.
the thing is that it wasn't God that did the Holocaust. It was men. Men did it.
No. Yes, no, that's the whole point. The reason I didn't go into that is because you and I both know about the free will and all that stuff. These atheists who are ripping on God for not making the world the way they wanted it to be.
Yeah, it's free. That's
you and I know that. So
that's
yeah,
the
I didn't
point
go into
that I
that
want to
because
make is that God did not.
Yeah, God did not
Man
cause
did
the Holocaust.
using.
Man caused the Holocaust. God did not interfere. God didn't stop the Holocaust because man has free will, and that's the thing that we decided to do.
Yeah, so don't
in this
blame God,
situation.
blame the men. And
Yeah,
that's what the Nuremberg trials were all about.
Mhm.
I mean, if God was, if we regulated all responsibility to God for every bad thing that happened, then what's the point in trials? What's the point in punishing the men that carried out these acts? So take God out of the equation and put the responsibility square on the human being, because human beings have free will. And see, shit like that. I mean, I get on atheists about this. It's like every bad thing that has happened on this planet is not because of a devil or because God allowed it. No, every bad thing that happens on this planet is because men have made decisions that were not in the interests of their fellow men. Period. And the sooner, this is why we need a document like the United States Constitution to guarantee that people who are more endowed physically and mentally do not take advantage of their lessers. And yeah, I mean, that's why we have these checks and balances. And because that the creator does not look at the person at where you are at in this life. He looks at what is your spiritual potential. And if your spiritual potential is great,
Okay, yeah.
not too much else matters to them outside of that. It might not matter to you. Maybe your next meal is more important to you than your spiritual currency. And and that's where, if we had a fair and equal society where people are able to put the work in and be rewarded for their efforts, then those people are happy. That's called capitalism, by the way. And people are happy because, for one, they're doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
Two, they're making money. Everybody loves making money. Holy fuck, that's why money is magical. Makes you feel great when you got lots of it in your pocket. and so, and once you feel good,
Yeah.
and you've got, and you might be a clever guy and you make lots of money and you feel good about it, in a fair society, you're automatically going to help the people around you, because you're going to want to spread that happiness. I mean, this is what normal people want to do. It's greed that destroys our society. And greed is born out of fear of loss. And you don't, and so once people begin to fear, then since we have access to we have access to every animal's instinct on the planet, because we sit at the top in the morphogenic field, so we have access to all the other lower animals. Well, then we start taking on the characteristics of those lower animals. You know, it could manifest in the form of aggression. It could manifest in the form of hoarding. And hoarding takes many forms. Hoarding can be filling your house full of shit that is useless. Hoarding can also take the form of taking every cent that you make and putting it, storing it away, in a bank account where all it's going to do is gain interest. It's not helping anybody. It's, but the more the more money that goes out into the community and circulates, the better everybody does. I mean, if you want, yeah, I mean, if you want wealth, to me, if you want storage of wealth should only be allowed to exist in material objects, be it metals, be it real estate, and that is how you store your material wealth. And the reason why I like the idea of using material to store material wealth is because material needs maintenance. Maintenance pushes the economy forward because you have to hire people for that. So if you put your wealth into gold, that gold needs to be stored somewhere. That storage building has to be guarded by somebody. And that doesn't and I didn't even take into account all the trades necessary to build that storage facility to begin with. And the same thing with real estate. If you store your wealth in real estate, say you own 5,000 acres of forestry. Well, guess what? You can't get insurance on that forest unless you're taking care of it. So that means that you've got to send men in there to clear out the underbrush, because if there's a fire through that forest and it starts in that forest and you didn't do the proper maintenance, then the insurance company is not going to pay you. But the reason why you have fire insurance on your forest is because your neighbor next door might not be as diligent as you, and a fire comes over to your property because of your neighbor. You want to get paid for the trees that you were going to harvest in a few years. See, it creates an economy. And the whole thing, the insurance company gets paid. That insurance company hires people to do the paperwork. They get paid. Next thing you know, those people are buying bicycles and cars and having babies, and boom, the whole economy gets pushed forward. That's why, hoarding is, it's the worst thing to do to an economy. So that's my economic rant.
Okay, yeah, so we're coming up on, let's see, 5 minutes to 6, and we should try winding it down. Also, Jordan, I think, has given us the next topic for our next episode. He says, "How about the masks and the government?" LOL. God. That's a long topic.
Just wearing the damn thing raises my blood pressure.
We'll see what. Anyway, so we'll figure out the. Yeah. Anyway, so we can we'll figure out what topic we want to do next week. Does this seems pretty successful to you? Do you think? It's kind of choppy and stuff, but I think we seem to do okay. We had some good engagement, and I think we did all right. I have to fix my lighting because it's atrocious. I was up in my room. It's the only light in my room is behind my head, so it would look like I was in the witness protection project. Now at least you can recognize me. There's this thing up here, but we got to fix all that. But anyway, I think this was successful for a first run of this live stream. Was it video chat live stream.
I'll
P&K Q&A for, let's see, I didn't give the date.
I'll
It was
finish off with
December
this.
5th.
In evolution, religion often leads to man's creating his concepts of God. Revelation exhibits the phenomenon of God's evolving man himself. While the earth life of Christ Michael, we behold the phenomenon of God's revealing himself to man. Evolution tends to make God man-like. Revelation tends to make man God-like. That's the difference. We shouldn't be bringing God down to earth. We should be stretching up to be more like him, in a nutshell.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yes. There you have it.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Night. Thanks for watching. Take care. All right.